Welcome to the Graybeard Chronicles podcast. Your hosts, Brian Halstead and Kevin Harkins, are two gray-bearded patriots who love God, their family and friends, and their country. The Graybeards are here to inspire, inform, and educate you on a myriad of topics they are passionate about. Brian and Kevin have a strong desire to share this with you to help you live your best life. Sit back and enjoy this amazing podcast as the Graybeards pass along the wisdom of the ages.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Graybeard Chronicles. I'm Brian Halstead.
And I'm Kevin Harkins.
And Kevin, we're here to pass along some wisdom of the ages. What the heck does that mean?
We're not perfect, but we do have gray beards. And that means we've got some significant life experience, some life lessons, and some perspectives that are worthy of passing along.
Well, I think that sums it up nicely. Let's get to it. Good evening, Mr. Harkins.
Hi, Brian. Hello, Mr. Halstead. How are you?
I am well, thank you. I don't know why I said that, and I instead of just coming out with Kevin. I guess maybe I should say good evening, Dr. Harkins. How are you?
No. Wow, I'm not used to being called that. No. Yeah, that's sending me into my queue is locked.
You had
up.
a flashback.
Right.
Whoa, wait, what is that about?
It was like a previous life. Yes, you're a mime. That's another thing. I keep learning new stuff about you.
See, you say that, but all that stuff that you see, nobody else is going to see because I'm going to clip that.
Oh, you're going to,
so you're teasing people.
Okay.
And that won't be on there. That's why I feel I have the freedom to act like a fool while it's recording initially because you're the only one that can see that.
I guess now that I look back at the previous recordings, you're right. I don't ever see you doing those crazy things. All right.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
By the way, I noticed that. Does that need to be plugged in? Whatever that is, that your computer? I don't want that to go dead.
Uh-oh.
Is it?
No, it's good.
It's good. Okay.
I'm not using that tonight, so we're good.
All right.
But I appreciate you looking out.
Yeah, I mean,
because that'd be bad if we're just sitting here like going to town, recording, talking, and that's not like that hasn't happened before. So
right.
Yeah, we don't want it to happen again.
Are you feeling just a little bit more manly today than you were a week ago today?
I think maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure where you're going with this, so I'm somewhat reluctant to answer. Yes, I'll just say yes. I'm feeling no, because I wasn't really feeling unmanly the other day.
Okay.
So
I just wondered if there were any takeaways from last week's podcast on that had a particular focus for much of it on masculinity, and if you walk away
the biggest takeaway for me was God bless George Bruno, and you know what? There needs to be more of us out there saying the kind of things that he's saying. Because we are not the bad guys, and we need to stop letting these, squeaky wheels and loudmouth little, crybaby nothings create so much hate and discontent and uproar that it causes us to stop being who we are and who we were meant to be, and start questioning some of our behaviors. And that's just bullshit. We're decent human beings. We're males, and we need to continue acting like it.
Yeah, I've had a number of conversations with folks over the past week about the podcast, and as I have reflected back on that conversation, there were a couple takeaways for me, big takeaways. That one is it was just a really interesting conversation.
Yeah.
I mean,
He's a fascinating dude. He really is.
As I thought about it, all week long, it was, wow, you just didn't know what was coming next. And it was interesting and it was entertaining. So that's thing number one. And thing number two is another observation about George is he just is a very free guy. He is who he is. He doesn't apologize for it. He lives his life. And there's some serious lessons for all of us in that as well. Just be who you are. Don't pretend to be somebody else. Don't be somebody that somebody else wants you to be.
Yeah, with the caveat of something that we've talked about before, as long as you're operating in the space of being a decent human being.
Correct.
And from that point forward, once you're behaving as a decent human being, do so unapologetically.
Right.
Be who you are.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it was some really good stuff, and Paula enjoyed it as well, and it was fun to watch. And I've got some really good feedback from others who enjoyed it. So thank you, George.
Yes. Shout out to George. Thank you again. Yeah. And I certainly believe that it will not be the last time that we share the airwaves with George on a recording of a podcast or video. So yeah, good stuff.
Yeah. Other than that, I'm looking forward to the cicadas. Are you?
Yeah, I'm very excited about it. I was just thinking about the.
You don't look excited.
No,
Are you excited?
no. Have you been hit in the face with one when you're riding a motorcycle?
Oh, no.
I now, like, what, 17 years, right? So
Right.
17 years ago, I rode a motorcycle and I wore just a half helmet, and so my face was very, very exposed, and I got smacked right in the grape with one of those things, man.
Okay.
And that'll let you know you're alive. But it's an interesting experience. And now I don't worry about it as much because I wear a full face helmet. But still, I don't have to clean that mess off.
I'm going to demonstrate my ignorance as a non-motorcycle rider, at least so far. What is a grape? I got smacked in the grape. I'm not familiar with that term.
Oh, that's more of a Marine Corps term.
Oh,
yeah.
Is that in the face? Is that what I mean?
Just the head, the face. Yeah,
Okay.
Smacked him right in the grape. Yeah.
This is a grape sitting on your shoulders. Okay. All right. Very good. Right in the grape. We'll take it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not really looking forward to them. And then, man, they're although it is kind of a cool experience, it'd be something that would be great if it just lasted for a couple hours. But they will.
It's only a couple weeks.
Yeah, but they will absolutely consume the audible outdoors, right? For the period of time that they're out there, man. It's just noise.
I think it's actually a great segue into today's topic, because this whole phenomenon, it's amazing to me that these insects that have brains the size of, the head of a needle,
Right.
if it's even that big. I honestly have no idea. It might be bigger, but
Right.
It's just amazing nature evolution that these things all kind of go underground, and I guess they're communicating somehow. But more than anything, it's this biological something that I'm demonstrating my keen grasp of.
Your technical expertise, man. His biological something caused him to do some. Well,
Every
like
17
you
years.
should apply to be a speechwriter for Joe Biden. Because you're freaking killing it, dude.
Wow. Okay. What was I saying? Oh, it's like millions and millions and millions of things all come out. And the thing other thing that's interesting about this is some of them sort of got a memo that was like half done or cut off because they are coming up a year early or a year late. They miss out. They're like all looking for all their buddies.
They're the scouts,
Right.
Right. That's your recon folks that are going out there early.
Okay, that's your.
Yeah.
What about the folks that come out a year late?
I'm fighting it, but I'm gonna say it here. Those are the coasties. They don't. Oh, I couldn't help myself, man. You just set me up for that. No, actually, I think that's more Navy. Same thing, though, right? I love it.
Too late.
I love
Damage
the
is done.
No damage.
That's it.
Oh, we were having a conversation the other day. One of my club brothers who is in the Navy, and I was asking him about the what was the movie I watched? The Guardian,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And the back and forth between the no love lost between the Navy and the Coast Guard that was
Right.
depicted in that movie.
Right.
And I was asking him if that was real deal, right? Is it? And he's like, oh, those puddle pirates and shit like that. So
yeah.
apparently it is real.
They wish. I'll just leave it at that. They wish.
Yeah, but for the guys that are coming out late, the cicadas that are, I don't know. I'm not
Okay.
sure what that's all about. Maybe they're the backup in case something bad happens.
The good news for you is I have so much respect for the Marine Corps that I probably will withhold at least on this setting all the things I could say, but I won't because
No, I'm completely fine with it. What you got?
It's not you. No, it's not you. It's all the other Marines that I'm worried about.
you don't mind offending me. No, not at all, dude. I'll offend you, but I'm afraid I might offend some other Marines.
Right.
All right, that's cool. I'm good with that.
Anyway, it's a beautiful thing. There we go. The fact that these cicadas come out every 17 years, it is a beautiful phenomenon. It is an amazing phenomenon, and that is what we're talking about tonight. That being beauty.
Right.
And,
we're not doing a whole episode on cicadas.
No, we're not. We're not. And the reason this came to pass is because a couple weeks ago, there were a confluence of a couple events that occurred. One is I was listening to one of the essays by Ralph Waldo Emerson, and he made this quote. He was talking about nature. He's got an essay on nature. It's a great essay, and in that there's a quote that says, I got to make sure I get, beauty breaks in everywhere. And it just hit me. Beauty breaks in everywhere. And that it sort of penetrated. I said, wow, that's a neat way to say that. So that was item number one. Item number two was, as I do almost every morning, although I've quit the last few because of what happened, I looked at the headlines, and as I've said to you before, I don't spend a lot of time, literally a minute or two, on the headlines. And it was just something that just irritated the hell out of me. I was like, oh God, not again. Here we go again. And all of a sudden I'm in this negative mindset, and I said, I gotta snap out of this. I can't do this anymore. I can't start out my day down in the dumps because of some headline that pissed me off.
Yeah.
And so earlier that morning I had heard the beauty breaks in everywhere. And I'm like, what is beautiful that I could focus on right now to change my mental state? And that just led me off onto this journey, which led me to say to you, why don't we talk about this a little bit and see what it can do for us, and see, I'm very interested to see what you think about it, what you might share about it. I have some notes. I went back to the notes, by the way.
I loved how you approached me with the topic, because there was like this tentative nature about you, because you weren't real sure how I would take it. And I'm cool with it. I like I said when you first brought it up, it to me it kind of ties into the conversations that we've had about mindfulness and enjoying the present moment that you're in, and just being aware of your surroundings, etc. All that stuff kind of just for me revolves around in that same arena.
Completely agree.
So yeah, I think it's cool. It'll be interesting to have an hour-long conversation about it.
It won't be an hour long.
I bet it could go longer than that. I say that in jest, because I really do think, we both had that initial thought was, will that be enough material to take up an entire podcast? But I think we could probably talk a lot longer about it, because there's so many ways in my mind to tie it into other stuff.
It does. It brings together concepts that we've talked about many times on the podcast, related to all of the things that you just mentioned, and that's pretty cool. But I started thinking about, first of all, what do I think is beautiful, and what does it do for me, and why should I focus on it? Those are some of the things that started rolling around in my head, and then what dawned on me is, shouldn't have dawned on me until you thought about it, but what's beautiful to me may or may not be beautiful to you. And that's one of the beautiful things about examining beauty is beauty lies, that the saying, beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder.
Yeah.
Right. And so somebody will look at something and go, wow, that was just stupid, whatever that was. And other people go, that was amazing. That was so beautiful. And I love that, because that decision to decide that something is beautiful and to focus on it and what it does for you. And I really do. I think this whole cicada thing, I know it's kind of a twisted way to get there, but it's a beautiful thing. It really is. It's
certainly interesting and to think about, all the things you said as far as, how long they're underground and how do they all know to come out at the same time, and where does the signal come from, or do they just have a biological clock that tells them, okay, it's time to go? I mean, I have a dog that's like that. She knows when it's time to eat, and she's as accurate as my damn watch on most days.
Right.
Right. Just you think about it, coordination. Could you imagine if we decided to orchestrate some type of an event where it required that many human beings to do all the same thing at the same time? That's it's pretty wild when you think about it.
It is pretty wild. And Paul and I took the weekend off and went away the last few days, this last weekend. And this was on my mind. And so it's easy to recognize things that are beautiful when you're out in beautiful scenery. And we went for a hike, and it was absolutely gorgeous. But the thing that surprised me about that was some of the other pieces of the hike, because I was focused on, and I had made the decision, and that's for me one of the key takeaways, make the decision to look for the beauty. What I found that I thought was beautiful, and I'll just share one example. Of course, we saw probably 6 or 7 different small waterfalls.
Yeah.
We saw a beautiful, gorgeous blue sky. We saw all the early spring flowers coming into bloom, and all of that. There was the smells, there were the sounds, but the thing that really surprised me out there was moss. Of all of the things, moss, because it's been such a wet and such a humid and such a kind of I guess it's wet more than anything, and a winter with the shorter days. There was moss everywhere. It was over all the rocks, over the north side of the trees. Just this, so there was this tint and because it had been warm for a few days, the moss had brightened up. So this bright green everywhere, and it was just cool looking at it. I thought, wow, look at it. I had to touch it. It's real springy. I wanted to if I was stuck out here, I'd lay down on this and I'd be okay.
Be nice and comfy.
Nice and comfy in the moss. Yeah, there you go. And the thing is, it made me happy. And that's another one of the byproducts of deciding to focus on beauty is it makes you happy. It changes your mindset. And beauty is everywhere around us. And that's the thing I want to encourage folks to do is just make the decision to look for it. And not only that, look for it, but when you find it, stop and enjoy it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I love this time of year because things are starting to, like you said, green up, and flowers are starting to bloom, and this time of year you hear some news coverage about the crisis surrounding the cherry blossoms in Washington D.C. It's like there's a crisis every year surrounding the cherry blossoms.
I have paid no attention. What is the crisis this year?
I think that they're afraid they've come out too early and the wind's going to damage them, and but.
And the dates they have for the parade and all that. I don't know. Are they even having that this year?
Who knows? I don't know. I've not been up there for that. I can see them on TV just fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is. It's a beautiful time of the year, and if you watch, I like the way animals act during this time of year. Especially you hear the birds out there singing when you're sitting outside and so on. But just animals in general. I got to tell a story about the. I don't know if I've ever talked about this outdoor cat that we have. That adopted us.
Okay.
Right. Wallace is his name.
I've
coined the nickname for him recently. Wallissimo. He's the Italian love cat.
Okay.
Because
does he look Italian?
I don't know. What does an Italian cat look like? But he comes to the door, our front door, and there's side lights on either side, right? And he will sit there and meow and basically summon either us or our indoor cat. I think he's really summoning our indoor cat. And they will, dance at the window. It's really cool to watch. I got some video of it and so on. Maybe I'll find it and post it as a part of this. But yeah, so they'll dance at the window, but this cat has adopted us. He actually used to belong to our neighbor, and our neighbor let him out because he was not happy living there, and so he's an outside cat now. But he adopted us, and he comes around, and we fed him, and he stays outside, and he probably wouldn't come inside if we let him. But it's great to just watch him, the way he behaves in this warm weather, especially after he's survived the winter. He's out in the driveway just rolling around, scratching his back on the asphalt, and it's just fascinating to watch. And it's springtime, man. It's the way animals behave during that time, and I think it's cool.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Any kind of animal, if you watch it, just being itself. And like animals are not, I guess they're pretty much always themselves, right? But they're not trained, out in the world, and you see a deer or a family of deer, a flock of deer, a herd of deer.
Herd. Let's go with herd. Let's go with herd.
Ooh, I'm just kind of stumbling on all kind of things today.
The 120 years I've been in the Senate. Did you hear that the other day? Oh,
he did not say that.
I swear to God he did. I don't know if he was trying to make a joke. He needs to work on his delivery, because he just straight up said it like it was a fact.
Watching animals in nature is absolutely a beautiful thing. And I'm not saying that President Biden is an animal in nature, but some people may say that. Another thing that I was noticing while I was on this hike, and then I started noticing it everywhere, are their patterns. There are beautiful patterns that humans and other animals and plants, there are these amazing patterns. It might be the veins in a leaf.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things that caught my attention was on some trees, I don't know, there's some sort of mushroom that can grow on the side of a tree, and they create these little ledges, these little mushroom ledges all over the place.
I don't know what kind of fungus that is, but I know what you're talking about.
Is it it's a fungus? It's not a mushroom?
Well, mushrooms are
fungus.
fungus.
It's a fungus, that's right, okay.
Yeah.
So, and they were stacked in a certain way, and they would, change direction and position, and I thought, well, there's another thing of beauty. Then I noticed in a rug at home that human beings who created this rug put patterns in there that were also beautiful. It's freaking everywhere. Beauty breaks in everywhere if you take the time to stop and think.
Yeah, there's all kinds of things like that going on, and it goes back to something that we've said before. You're going to find what you're looking for. So do you walk around in the world looking for the beauty that's there to see, or do you just walk around so focused on doing certain things that you just ignore everything that's going on around you and miss the opportunity to see and appreciate many of the beautiful things too? And I'm talking about nature. I'm talking about man-made things. I'm talking about people. I'm talking about everything that exists around you. In a physical state is an opportunity to appreciate something that's beautiful, and when you get caught up in negativity or overly focused on doing something and just missing everything else that goes around you, I think you're losing out. I think you're missing stuff.
Yeah, and I that in my mind went back to other periods of my life where you really do, and all of us can think of this. But you just got to take the time to do it. Like what other times in my lifetime was there something that happened that just blew me away because it was so interesting, so beautiful? And this is another story that's gonna sound crazy. We were out at sea on a Coast Guard ship. We were in the Caribbean, and it was flat ass calm, which is extremely rare out on the ocean.
Right.
To have everything just so flat and not a swell coming from any direction, and it looked like glass. There was no ripple, there was no nothing. And we were on the bridge, and one of the one of the senior chiefs came up onto the bridge, and he was smoking a cigarette. And the smoke, I don't know if I've shared this story with you, but
no, you have not.
The smoke that was because the air was so still, the smoke was coming off of the tip of the cigarette and just hanging there. It was like somebody had taken a picture of smoke and it was holding it in front of us, and it just hung there in the exact same position that it came off of the tip of the cigarette. And this lasted for like a minute. And I know it seems like it's only a minute, but when you normally, you smoke pipes, you smoke cigars, the smoke is gone, right? You see it come out and then it's gone. And it just hangs there I remember looking at it, and I said to the guy next to me, his name was John Vincent, I said, "John, look at that." And he looked at it, and we were awestruck by this smoke sitting there. And then of course it slowly began to dissipate, and a minute later it was gone. But I'd never seen anything like it before. And I thought, that is cool as shit, man. That is it's smoke off the end of a cigarette.
Right.
But it was beautiful.
Right, yeah. Who would ever think to look for beauty there?
Right. Right.
And I'm not, being critical of cigarette smokers, to each their own.
Right.
Yeah, there's nothing that smells good about it, but, just like cigars, there's nothing that smells good about those either, especially not a couple of days after you've been, smoked them in a certain area.
Right.
Yeah.
So a couple I wrote down. I'm gonna take them one at a time. The positive benefits of recognizing beauty and taking the time to stop and really get into it. The first is it increases your sense of wonder. That is something. Isn't that something that we lose as adults? As a child, everything you have this wonder, and of course you're asking questions a million miles an hour of your parents.
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Right.
Why? Yeah. What is that? What is that? What is that?
But as an adult, to have a sense of wonder, like just to really appreciate and wonder about, well, it's like back to the cicadas. How is it that that happens? How is it that every 17 years, somebody in the audience is going to listen and go, they're going to be a biology person, and they're going to have the exact explanation. Right. I don't care. The fact that it happens is amazing to me.
What's a name for somebody that specializes in insects?
I don't know. I have no idea.
I don't know.
Do you?
No, I don't. I was thinking of herpetologist, but I don't think that's it. I think that's reptiles, maybe.
It's pretty impressive that you're even pulling that out.
Yeah,
that's amazing. So your sense of wonder. Number two, it gives you a sense of appreciation and gratitude. We've talked before about what gratitude does for you. The barriers in your mind come down. You become much more creative as a result of it. And then the third thing is it puts you in a positive mindset. And that positive mindset, when you go forward, and back to the day, a couple days ago when I was thinking about this, I read the headline. Now I'm all grumpy. I'm all pissed off. I'm not liking what's coming at me. And then I say, no, what can I find that's beautiful? What can I think about that's beautiful? And all of a sudden I was off and running. And I had a great day. And that's what it does for you, because I could get pissed off and kick the dog and, just be grumpy. And lack energy. You've been there. I've seen you there a couple times.
No, you haven't.
You're right, I haven't. You're right. I've never seen you that way. But you tracking with me on this?
I am tracking with you. Yeah, I just, one of the things that's going through my head when you're talking about it is the way that I start my day every morning is, the dog has to go out.
Right.
So, doesn't matter what the weather's doing.
That's right.
The dog has to go out. And so, we'll walk outside, and, there's certain days that are way more beautiful than others. And, it was a little chilly this morning.
Mm-hmm.
Man, it was gorgeous.
Yeah.
The moon was still out there, and we're a day or so after a full moon. But it was just beautiful, and, starry sky, not a cloud up there. And yeah, you just kind of want to stay there for a minute and take that in. And, yeah, it's a cool experience, and that's how I like to start my day, is just going outside and appreciating that, and just kind of looking around and thinking about things that I have to do in the day, and being thankful for things I do have, and there's just all kinds of things that'll run through your mind when you're staring up at the heavens.
So, in light of what you just said, describe how you feel at this moment, and then I'm going to ask you another question. Just describe what is the feeling going through your body, through your mind, as a result of you thinking about what you just said.
It feels good, right? I mean, you can't have an experience like that or talk about an experience like that and feel shitty.
Right.
You
Right.
just can't.
Right.
Because it's an uplifting experience.
Yeah,
it's powerful.
And that's the point. All right, I'm going to put you on the spot here. You ready?
All right, what you got?
It's not that hard, because you can just right off the top of your head. 3 things that you think are beautiful, that just popped to your mind immediately, that make you happy. They don't have to make you happy. You think they're beautiful.
So the first 3 things, honest to God, that popped in my head: my wife, my daughters, and my granddaughters.
Okay, and there you go. There you go.
And then there's lots of other things, but those are the first things that jumped into my mind.
Yeah. And speaking of they're all beautiful people, by the way. But one of the things that I really like, it's there on the wall, and it's also you've put it on.
Yeah, it's in the start of that. Yeah,
it's in the
videos,
the lead into the videos, and that's you sitting in the chair with your 2 granddaughters, one in each arm. That's a powerful picture. That's a beautiful beautiful picture.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And thank you to my dear brother Bubba for seeing that picture and sending it to me in a canvas print. So shout out to you, Bubba.
Where did he see it? Did he take it, or did
I think no, I posted it on a group chat that we have, and he grabbed it and sent it to somebody online, and it showed up in the mail.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, and so I just jotted down some things that I have listed here. Actually, my favorite color in the world, and I think every time I take the time to stop and look at it, is on a bright, sunny day, and the conditions have to be just so. It's either in the morning or in the evening when the sun is fairly low in the sky. If you look at the blue sky in the opposite side of where the sun is, there's that color blue, and it's different. It's really interesting. If you look at the blue that's near the sun, it's a much lighter blue. If you look at it on the opposite side of the sun, on the opposite side of the sky, so if the sun is setting there, you're looking the other direction.
Gotcha.
That color blue touches my soul. It really does.
That's very cool. I've never paid attention to that.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna have to look.
Okay.
And so is everybody else that's listening or watching this. You're gonna be thinking in your head, oh wait, look at that beautiful sunset, and then turn around. Is it sunset, sunrise, or both?
That's too late or too early. The sun has to be up. I'm talking 15 degrees.
Yeah.
15 degrees above.
But
the
it can
horizon.
be coming up or going down. Okay.
Because it ends up being the same color.
Interesting.
And then I'll look at the sky near the sun and I'll be like, yeah, that's nice, it's beautiful. But then you look on the other side, there's just, for me, there's something about it that makes me go, oh. Anybody who says there ain't a God that can create that color blue, that is amazing to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that one gets me. I love a good book. I can read a book and appreciate it, and I will even say, man, that was a thing of beauty to enjoy that book. The smile or the laugh of a child. You know this one too.
Oh, baby giggles, man. Baby giggles are the best.
Yeah. Isn't that? It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, we are all anxiously awaiting my second granddaughter's giggle phase. She's square up in the smiling and cooing phase now, but she's done a little mini giggle.
Right.
But man, there's nothing like baby giggles. And the smile thing, that'll just melt your heart.
It will just melt your heart. Yeah, a good friend of mine just wrote an article about. It's a bad news, good news story. A very, very good friend of mine who had a very close friend who recently committed suicide. I hate to go there. That was our very first podcast. And he just couldn't believe it because nobody saw it coming, as we've talked about. He was a very private person, that wasn't out there. And he was all down in the mouth about all of this and just really in a bad spot himself, feeling for this guy and his family and all of that stuff. And he was driving home, and he was pulling into his driveway, and the neighbors were out and their children were playing outside, and there was a little 2-year-old girl, and she saw him coming and she recognized him, and she ran up beside his car and she smiled and she waved, and it all went away just like that because that child touched him. It was so beautiful. It was so touching, and he thought, wow, there's a reason to live right there, for all of that.
That's cool. And I think that there's a couple of things that jump out about that for me, right? Because I believe that the universe delivers things for you when you need them.
Absolutely.
And there's no accident that happened.
Right.
That's cool.
Yeah. And then I'm drinking water. I promise. The issue of, for me, forgiveness. Forgiveness can also be, not only is it healing, not only is it freeing, it is beautiful. When you are holding something in that you are not forgiving somebody for something that's happened in your life, and you do forgive them. So think about that, and the release that you get from it, and that is, to me, that's beautiful. But also when you are forgiven, that's another one. Remember when we were talking about with Stacy Lampman a few weeks ago about loyalty, and
Yes.
and people who have seen you go through the good, the bad, and the ugly, and they stick with you, and if you've done something wrong and they forgive you, and they stay loyal to you, that's a beautiful thing. And so I just thought about my own self, and then one person in particular, I will go nameless, but I for years I held a grudge, for years and years and years, for a person that I knew in the Coast Guard years ago that did something, and I just couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, that's amazing. That's amazingly bad. And I just would not let it go. And then finally, after getting a little more mature and starting to grow a gray beard, I just decided to let it go.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful.
Yeah, I've had similar experiences, and the cool thing about forgiveness is it's not just for the person that you're forgiving; it's also for you. And I would say, in many cases, it's more so for you.
No
because,
doubt.
That they say that that anger and that the angst that you're carrying around internally, that person is basically occupying free space in your head. And physiologically, that's not good for you. There's a phrase, something about the, anger and things of that nature. They're caustic to the vessel that they're being carried in.
Right.
And so it's good for you. It can be a selfless and a selfish act at the same time to forgive someone,
right?
Because you're doing it for them and for you,
right? You mentioned, and this is not about forgiveness, but my mind went to it for some reason when I was just looking at you. Mentioned your wife, your daughters, and your granddaughters. But it reminded me that there are many times I've said about relationships, man, that is a beautiful relationship that I have with this person, whoever it is, because that's really what it's about, right? It's about the relationship that you have with them. There are many people who don't have beautiful relationships with their spouses or with their children or with their grandchildren. I know several who the last thing that they would describe their relationship as is beautiful. And yeah.
All right, so we have to talk more about that because that's twice that's come up for me today.
Okay.
And I think that it's important to figure out, or at least, I think it was a comment I saw somebody make on some social media post about a horrible losing a wife to divorce, losing a son to suicide, and then his daughter won't talk to him anymore. And he had just basically given up and concluded that he's alone, right where he's supposed to be forever. And there were other comments made about as long as you still have breath in your body and you have the ability to make the decision to do something about it, there's still time to make an effort to salvage that relationship that you have with your daughter.
Yeah.
And there is, no matter what the relationship is, who it is with, if it's something that's causing you angst, don't carry that shit to the grave with you. If it's not something you care about and it's not impacting you in a negative way, then you can make a decision to move on and not worry about it. If it's something that's bothering you, something that weighs on you, something one of those anchors that you're walking around dragging throughout your life because it's unfinished business, then that's something you really need to take time to deal with. And you still have time. And the weight that you will lift off of your shoulders and your mind and your soul by doing that is tremendous.
Yeah, and it will lead to beauty.
Yep.
It will. Tying that back to specifically what we were talking about. Those relationships that you have that are that important to you. Take the time to recognize them, and it's I don't want to go there. That was kind of a negative. It's same thing about relationships, but I don't want to go there. What I did want to do is say, just talking about it, and I asked you how you feel. I mean, I feel amazing. I feel good physically. I love thinking about things that are beautiful and that make me happy.
Yeah.
And There's something to that.
Absolutely. And I would also ask you this question: Have you ever come into a Monday night or whatever night it was? Typically, it's always on Monday, but a Monday night podcast recording session. The lead up to it, or going away afterwards. Have you ever had a bad experience on either side of that?
I wouldn't describe any of them as bad. I would describe some of them as maybe it's not that I wasn't ready for it, but the topic for some reason, for example, I didn't feel great focusing on suicide the very first one.
Yeah.
But I felt like we needed to talk about it, and it's not something that it's not something that you should avoid, and we should deal with, and we should do everything we can as human beings to help. But that wasn't a topic that I was.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
What I'm saying?
Yeah, it depends on how deep you dive into whatever topic it is. But I just think in general, it's an uplifting experience. I know it is for me. And even with a topic like that, though, it's somewhat uplifting because of the information that we're sharing with people and trying to make a difference in the prevention thereof, the awareness of that, and so on. So, yeah, but I see what you're saying.
No, but
I wasn't prepared for that, or I might have phrased the question a little differently.
Okay.
But that's good, though.
To kind of give this a broad brush, we've said it 100 times.
Yeah.
I very much look forward to Monday nights because we're recording, and it's going to be fun, and I get to talk to you about things that are interesting and cool and exciting. So no, this is a very, very positive thing.
Yeah. I didn't actually. I'm glad you said that about the certain subjects, though, because I could see where that.
They're a little heavier.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the right word.
Yeah, you're right. It's certainly a little heavier, deeper. Yeah.
But we are passing on the wisdom of the ages, so that you walk away from it, you're thinking good about it.
Yeah. Yeah. This came up talking tonight, basically, saying that negativity, right? So you can't be in a witnessing beauty or any of that stuff and be in a negative mindset, right? George was out in Vegas this weekend attending and actually participating in a seminar of some type out there. I don't know the exact details of it, but he did several videos where the question he was asking these folks is, what does excellence mean to you? What's your definition of excellence? And
good question.
There were several folks, different answers, but one of the answers that I think he followed up with the question of, what can be one of the biggest impediments to that, or obstacles that stand in the way of excellence. And this gentleman, and I'm sorry I can't remember his name, but he said, without hesitation, negativity. And I just, man, I'm so on board with that. I don't know how people walk around in such a negative state expecting good things to happen.
Right.
I don't think you can do that.
No.
And they just get more negative because nothing good ever happens.
Right.
And it just keeps repeating itself.
It really does. You have to break that cycle and get yourself out of it. No, you're exactly right.
Yeah.
And I wanted to share another experience back to beauty. I have not done it in many years, but many times I've gone to the National Gallery of Art in D.C. to look at the art of the masters from as far back as we have paintings in humankind. Many of them are there. So there's a couple things that are interesting to me about that. One is how different people they get drawn to certain types of paintings. Some people like Impressionism. I don't know what.
No,
yeah. And other people, I don't even know what I'm talking about in terms of how you describe these. But
right.
But there are certain styles of art, and people are attracted to certain kinds. But I can tell you for sure, I can go in there and go to certain paintings and go, that is amazing. And you start looking at, in my case, I like a lot of details, so I look at the detailed work that's in there,
right.
and I look at how the artist interpreted a piece of scenery or something to paint it in that way, and made it look three-dimensional and all this kind of stuff. And I go, you walk away with a sense of awe. and an appreciation for the beauty of it all. And so that's a thing that people ought to do. That's one of those things where you truly are making the decision to go seek it out and look for it and find it and appreciate it. And it was really fun doing it with my daughter Joanna too. When she was small, we'd go together and we'd sit on the couches. You know, they have couches in many of the rooms, and we'd kind of fold our arms and we'd look at the painting, and then I'd ask her, "What do you like about that one?" That was great fun.
That is very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we talking about, you know, this podcast and the idea of the discussion that we were going to have. We had a brief discussion beforehand about, you know, changing the set here periodically and getting outside and you know, especially this time of year. We don't necessarily want to do it in the middle of winter, but
Right.
yeah, maybe doing some recording out different locations and give folks that are watching our videos on YouTube the opportunity to appreciate some of the views that we have here.
Yeah. So I've sort of run the course on this one in my mind, other than to summarize from my perspective and say, back to the phrase that started this: beauty breaks in everywhere. And as we as humans should take the time to make the decision to recognize it, and when we do recognize it, to then appreciate it and let it touch our soul, let it touch our heart, and let it lift us up, put us in the right frame of mind to have a better day, a better week, a better whatever. And when you really take the time to do that, it's remarkable how it changes your state. And when you're in a better state, you do everything better.
Yeah, amen to that. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And whether it's, you know, enjoying nature or, you know, some type of man-made creation, whether it's music or I read something the other day talking about, you might remember this, back in like 1984 or 85, there were a bunch of whales. What kind of whales? Beluga whales that were trapped somewhere under the ice in Russia, right? Do you remember this? There were like 3,000 of them. And they
I didn't remember that many, but okay.
The area that was frozen was too long for them to go under with one breath and not be able to come back up and survive. So someone from Russia, I don't know who it was that, you know, initiated this, but they sent an ice-breaking ship out there, and they basically cleared a channel for these whales to be able to navigate through this frozen area and be able to breathe.
Okay.
And the whales were reluctant to follow them initially. And they started playing some classical music over the loudspeakers of the ship, and the whales were drawn to it and started following them. And they ended up saving like 2,000 of the 3,000 that were stranded as a result. But it was the classical music that actually got them to start following them.
Isn't
and
that
I just
amazing?
thought, you know, that's pretty damn cool when you think about it, because music is an artistic creation that is a beautiful thing, and, you know, most of it, you know, there's some stuff out there that's not all that, and that we should do away with. But that was just that's the first time I'd heard it, and I may have heard it back then when it happened, but I thought, wow, that's just absolutely amazing.
Yeah, that is. You reminded me of another story that I'm going to tell.
Sorry.
Go ahead. No, but back to my time in the Coast Guard, we were there. A fishing vessel had become disabled like 200 miles off the coast of New England, and so we had to run out. And I think they might have got their net caught in their wheel, in their propeller, and they were stuck. And so some bad weather was coming, so we had to go out and hook them up in a tow and tow them in. And when you're 200 miles offshore and you're towing in a fishing vessel at 4 or 5 knots, which is about as fast as you can go.
That's going to take a minute.
It's going to take a minute. It takes days to tow them in. And so, you know, we're towing them in. And when you're doing that, there's not a whole lot else that you can do. That's, you know, it's just kind of one of those boring periods of time. On this one day, beautiful New England day, all of a sudden, all around us, about 15 humpback whales started breaching, just coming out of the water. You know, when a whale breaches, they get going underwater and they just shoot straight up like a rocket.
Right.
And I think it's a mating dance. And so they're all trying to win the lady over or whatever, and they start shooting up out of the water and falling just repeatedly, and this went on for like an hour. It was, I felt like I had died and gone to heaven. Why do I get the opportunity to observe this? And now we're 150 miles offshore. There ain't no whale watching boats out there. Right. And these whales are just going crazy, just and they come out and they almost their full body length,
right?
And then they crash over, and as they're twisting, and again and again and again, and I was like, it just blew my mind. It was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. There you go.
That's very cool. No cell phones to capture that action.
No cell phone. There were no cell phones at the time. That's correct. Right.
Yeah. Wow, that's very cool.
Yeah.
I've not experienced that. I've seen them in the water, but not that that behavior. That's pretty cool.
Doing the breaching.
Yeah.
That's all I got, Bryant. It's a beautiful thing.
I can't help but see your notes over here. I don't know. Did you talk about the waterfalls?
I mentioned them.
Yeah, because I saw some pictures of the waterfalls that you guys saw this weekend, and man, that's there's some cool waterfalls in Virginia, and other places too. But there are definitely some hidden gems in Virginia that folks should check out.
Yeah, you go for a hike, and I mentioned briefly, and Bryant saw some of the Facebook posts, but there were gorgeous. Like I said, there was like 7 of them in a row. And they were all, it took about a mile, so you had to walk uphill, upriver, upstream, up creek, whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah. You had to walk where the water was coming from.
Where the water was, there we go. And yeah, gorgeous, just beautiful. And yeah, and in fact, Paula said, I think I'm going to cry. At one point, she said that because she was so blown away by how beautiful it was. And it was amazing. And it was we just stopped and we're still. And watched it and took it all in, and all of the, at a waterfall it's noisy, so you can't hear a whole lot. But even that is beautiful.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I had this is a funny moment that could have been a not so funny moment. But we've got a small flock, or is it herd of deer that we have a small herd of deer that runs around the neighborhood.
Let's call them a gaggle.
Yeah,
let's go with a gaggle.
And there's like 7 of them. And they, will periodically walk through the yard and cross the neighbor's yard. And I was coming home the other night on my motorcycle, and they were attempting to cross the road, and like 2 or 3 of them had already crossed the road, and the rest of them were staying over. But the thing was it was on a turn, and I didn't see them, so. There was nothing in the road when I came around the curve, so the ones that had already crossed, and the other ones fortunately were paying attention and hadn't started to cross yet. And I don't know if that's because they heard that beautiful sound of that motorcycle coming, and they all paused to admire the beauty of that motorcycle passing them. I think maybe that's what happened. I think they may be tuned into this stuff too, and they're taking time to really enjoy the things that are going on around them.
They're enjoying the ride, aren't they?
I like that.
That's
a nice. I see what you did there.
You they enjoyed watching that ride go by.
Yeah, they did, and being thankful that they weren't the fox that was there a few weeks prior.
Oh,
yeah, that was not a good experience.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was that on your motorcycle as well, or was that in the car
that
or
was.
the truck?
This is not a happy. I'll tell it. It's not a happy story, but I was riding home and I see these 2 creatures running out from the right hand side of the road, and they run towards me, and one goes in front of me and one goes behind me. Well, you can imagine which one survived.
Oh.
And it turned out it looked like they were it was a fox or foxes.
Right.
Is that the plural for foxes, or is it foxi? No, I think it's foxes. Or is the plural just fox?
I honestly
I don't know. I'm not an English major. Don't claim to be.
Right.
Somebody can critique me on that later. But anyways, there was a fox that went behind me and a fox that went in front of me, and the one that went in front of me didn't fare well at all. And
were you okay? Because in a motorcycle that can mess you up.
Yeah, fortunately this was not a big animal, and it was just kind of a thump thump.
Right.
And he was,
that was it.
I turned around though because I wanted to make sure that it wasn't somebody's dog.
Yeah.
Because I was pretty sure it was a fox, but I only got a split second look at it. And just like I said, I want to make sure it wasn't somebody's dog. So I went back, and it was indeed a fox. And, you talk about how experiences stay with you, right? I think these were 2 litter mates.
Okay.
And the one that ran behind my bike was over on the side of the road, kind of looking at me like, what the fuck, Holmes? That was my bro.
That's hard. Yeah. That's hard.
And I felt bad about it. I felt better that it wasn't somebody's dog.
Right.
And, know that there wasn't a whole lot I could do about it, but I'm just glad that it didn't cause me to have a problem.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Glad you made it through that one.
Yeah.
Feel bad for the little cubs that Mama wasn't ready to come home and feed them. How you feeling? Cubs?
Our baby
pups?
What do you call a baby fox? I don't think you call them cubs. I don't know.
But you might.
We'll call them foxlets. Or little fox puppies. I don't know what the hell you call them.
I think there's a name, and I don't think it's pups.
This is not an episode dedicated to nature or the proper use of the English language. This is a podcast about living a better life and being a better person, a better man, in particular, because the world needs more of those. And it's not about the all the other things that we're exposing our shortcomings on during the conversation tonight.
There was a whole bunch tonight. There was a whole bunch. We racked up enough for a couple months. Anyway.
Yeah. All right. Well, have we missed anything?
No.
Have we
covered
butchered
way more?
Is there more terminology we need to butcher before we leave?
No.
All right, cool. Well, then we'll close like this. No matter who you are, where you are, push that button before you say this, and make sure you push the right button. See, you got me all flustered, man. Make sure between this podcast and the next, you take time to enjoy the ride.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Graybeard Chronicles. Please subscribe so you'll receive notification when new episodes are available. To learn more about the Graybeards, visit their website, graybeardchronicles.com.